this has been so uplifting for me that I get to meet new people. And Soul, I'm super excited because I've never experienced you before. And one of the things that I want to share with our audience is that if you haven't sensed into Neil's intuitiveness with how he plans these conferences, and he's very intentional about who introduces which speaker. And I never, clamor to say, I want to introduce this person or that person. I let Neil use his, and I appreciate that Neil uses his heart. And so when I read your bio, I felt very aligned with you, and I definitely can't wait to hear your presentation. We want to get to it. So I'm going to thank you for being here. I'll read your bio and we'll get right into your sharing your screen. So I'm honored to present that Sol Tara was born into a family of mediums in Bolivia. As a kid, Sol would see and feel spirits. This terrified her because she didn't know what was happening since she didn't have a teacher at the time. Out of fear, Sol closed her third eye and intuitive abilities, and this left her feeling disconnected throughout most of her life. For years, Sol turned to traditional therapy, drugs, and alcohol, but they didn't solve her problems. And after hitting rock bottom, she made the decision to heal herself. This healing quest took Sol to over 30 countries to learn from talented masters from across the world. After discovering the healing power of alchemy, Sol finally found the root cause of her trauma. Alchemy changed her life. Sol shares the power of alchemy, mediumship, and meditation to connect people with their unlimited power in her monthly full moon ritual and meditation, and in the Golden Age Alchemy Academy. Thank you so much, Sol, for being here. We really appreciate your presence, and we look forward to hearing all that you're going to share with us today.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks for having me. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for the introduction. And thank you, Neil, for putting this together. And thank you to all of you showing up today. It's definitely no accident that we're all choosing to meet up today. If you are not familiar with astrology, today is the last time that Pluto is going direct in Capricorn. So the last time this happened was 200 years ago during the Haitian Revolution, the French Revolution, the American Revolution. And now it's going to start to move into Aquarius for the next 20 years. So this is what you hear people talk about, the age of Aquarius, and it's all about this, what we're doing right now, connecting with community. So thank you for showing up today, for your soul family here. And I 100% agree. It's no accident that I am presenting right after Vivienne, because I'm going to be talking about how our DNA is waking up with the solar flares. And I'm curious to hear from you in the chat. Let me know, did you have trouble sleeping last night? Have you had migraines or random tooth pains that will last maybe for 10 seconds and then they'll disappear? Are you getting any ear ringing? And these are all of the ascension symptoms that we're experiencing during this evolution of consciousness. That's not just a spiritual thing, it's actually a biological thing. So I'm excited to dive into that deeper so you can understand what's actually happening to your physical body. There's a reason why you're getting these migraines. There's a reason why you're getting all these ear ringings. So thank you, Michelle. And can we put up my presentation, please? Okay, awesome. Thank you. So right now, we are moving through this evolution of consciousness. And the last time this happened was about 12 to 13,000 years ago in Atlantis. And again, it's no accident that we're choosing to meet today when Pluto is entering this Aquarius sign for the next 20 years. That's going to happen in November, but today is a big marker point for closing karmic cycles. So it's an opportunity for us to close karmic cycles in our own lives, but also at the collective level, where we are not choosing to destroy ourselves like the Atlanteans, but rather choosing a new path forward for humanity, because this is what Mother Earth, what Gaia wants for us. And I know that that's what you want for us, and that's why you showed up today. So thanks for showing up today. I cannot control my PowerPoint, so can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so again, it's no accident that I'm presenting right after Vivienne, because Vivienne was talking about the importance of the Mayans and how now it's a 12-year window after the Mayans had forecasted that we would be entering a new cycle. But guess what? It's all of our ancestors from all over the world who said that right now, this would be a time of prophecy. This would be a time where everything would start to shift. There's the Buddhist calendars, there's the Aboriginal calendar, and there's the Mayan calendar, which of course the media said that the Mayans forecasted that the world would end, but they would actually forecasting the end of an era, not the end of the world, but rather the end of an era. And that is the end of the Dark Ages. And they were forecasting the new cycle of consciousness, a new earth, a new Baktun that would be arising right now. And so can you go to the next slide? What is so fascinating about our ancestors is that they had so much wisdom because they were so deeply connected to the stones, to the temples, to the earth. And the Mayans forecasted hundreds of years ago that right now, at the specific time in human history, we would have the most amount of solar activity. And guess what? Just in 2004, science finally caught up to this ancient wisdom. Science proved that right now we're having the most amount of solar activity in the last 8,000 years. And this is how tiny the Earth is compared to one solar flare. So when a solar flare pops off on the sun, you can think about it like a hurricane. It's a hurricane happening on the sun, and it is the equivalent of 100 megaton hydrogen bombs going off at the same time. So that is a lot of energy, a lot of electric plasma flowing into our energy field, flowing into our earth. So of course you're going to get headaches. Of course you're going to feel nausea. Let me know in the comments, has your body been feeling differently in these last few days, in the last 5 days? Why the last 5 days? Because we've had very strong solar storms in this past week. When we have these solar storms, all of this electric plasma is flooding your energy field, and it's interacting with the crystals that are in your teeth. That's why you'll have random teeth pain that will last like 15 seconds, and you're like, what is this? It's so random. It will even happen to the bones, the joints in your body. Like you'll just feel these weird sensations, and they'll be gone 30 seconds later. And it is because you have crystals in your bones, in your joints, in your teeth. And guess what? You also have crystals in your brain. You have magnetite crystals in your pineal gland. And when this solar storm, when this solar plasma is flowing towards you, it is activating the crystals, and it's making them vibrate. And that's why we feel discomfort. That's why we feel pain. And so let me read the chat. Yes, we are just vehicles of our DNA, 100%. I'm going to talk about the DNA in a second. Bethany Vaughn said, today I awoken with nausea and I felt myself not fully into my body for several minutes. Yes, nausea is a common ascension symptom. That is because when the sun is hurling all of this towards us, guess what happens? It's like a balloon. It's pressure. You have an energy field around you, and so all of that pressure, it's causing you to feel nausea. And so you can do some breathing exercises, consciously work to move all of this excess solar energy around your field, and instead alchemize it into vitality, into harmony. And I'll talk about alchemy here in a second. Can you go to the next slide, please? And if you imagine, right, like one solar flare is the equivalent to 100 megaton of hydrogen bombs going off at the same time. That's a lot of energy coming at us. But guess what? That's a lot of light coming towards us as well, but we cannot see it. If you were to show something to a dog or a cat, they're able to see more of the electromagnetic spectrum. But you and me, we can only see 0.00035%, not even 1% of the electromagnetic spectrum. So can you imagine the amount of light that's flooding the earth? And that's why there's no way that we can stop this awakening process. No matter what other agendas are at play, there's nothing that can do to stop this, because this is divine intervention, right? We are divinely supported. And like our ancestors beyond the Mayans, our ancestors around the world, we're all forecasting and pointing to the specific time in human history, because guess what? Now humans are ready to awaken in their light. And that's why I'm so grateful that you chose to show up today, because now you can start to work with this solar activity in a more conscious and in a more empowering way. Next slide. And this is something that you'll see regularly as a theme. So a theme is that science is only starting to catch up to what our ancestors already knew. So this is from 2022. So in 2022, scientists finally said that biophotons, which are light inside of your body, inside of your cells, biophotons has during evolution becomes a means of communication between neurons. So this is science basically saying that we are light beings, and over evolution, our cells have been learning to communicate via light. And so if we have all of this light flooding from the sun, guess what the sun is doing? The sun is communicating with your cells. The sun is communicating directly with you. Next slide. And that is why right now we are truly at a crux of human history, because this goes beyond like the recorded history that we have, but this is actually connected to planetary history. And I'll talk about that here in this next slide. You are here for an evolution of consciousness. Many of you know that you are not from this earth. Although we are currently on this earth and we're children of Mother Earth, we also belong to different star civilizations. And so all of this dormant DNA is starting to wake up now. And what is truly happening right now is that your body is learning to hold more light. Guess what? The water that we drink, the air that we breathe, the clothes that we wear, everything has toxins now. And so, of course, we're going to feel uncomfortable with all of this activations flowing in, because we have to release the toxicity. And yes, the toxicity are all of the chemicals, and it's also the distortions, the traumas that we have endured in our own lives. I know that on your road to inner work, to awakening, to enlightenment, to self-actualization, to self-mastery, you've gone through so many painful and challenging situations. And sometimes we are not fully processing that trauma. And so that's why the sun is helping us to release all of these distortions, whether they are physical, emotional, energetic. It's helping us to release it so that your body, your cells can learn to hold more light. So that is what's happening. And in 2012, it's no accident that the Mayans in 2012, they said that we would be entering a new era. And science is pointing to this as well. This is a biologist, and he said that junk DNA actually has hidden treasures. Did you know that the science community, they use the term junk DNA to refer to DNA that doesn't code for anything? So they didn't understand what that DNA does in our bodies. So they just called it junk because they thought it served no purpose. But now in 2012, this biologist is saying, hey, there's actually hidden treasures here. And guess what those hidden treasures are? Next slide. This is your DNA from your Atlantean, from your galactic ancestors. Many of us who were in Atlantis are returning back now so we can right our wrongs, so we can change the karmic cycles that we have been stuck in individually, but also at the collective level. So the sun, as it's hurling all of this plasma, all of this cosmic divine energy, it's activating, awakening our ancestral knowledge from our galactic ancestors. And that is what's happening right now. It's time for us to reclaim our power and reclaim our wisdom, because you have so much inside of you. Just like Vivienne said, your DNA is literally like a library filled with so much wisdom and knowledge. And now it's time for you to start to access that knowledge directly, not via me, not via Vivian, not via Neil, not via other people, but you have to directly connect with that yourself. And so this is actually a part of a bigger presentation that I do. I actually host a quarterly alchemy workshop, and usually this takes me an hour to get through, so I'm rushing through it now. But right now we're going through a huge great alignment where all of these cycles are stacking up on each other, and I'm going to quickly go through these cycles right now. Next slide. Right now, we are starting a new solar cycle. So just like you have a new cycle where every 12 months you celebrate your birthday, the sun has a solar cycle where every 11 years it starts a new cycle. Right now, we are entering the peak of solar cycle number 25. Next slide. And what is so fascinating about this solar cycle is that this researcher, this Russian researcher, what he did was absolutely fascinating. He was tracking how does the effect of the sun cycle affect human life on the planet. So he looked at 72 countries. So this is not based on Western or Eastern history. This is based on 72 countries. So different cultures, different ways of living, different religions. And what he found over looking at 200 years of historical data is that whenever humans would be entering a period of a solar cycle, a peak of a solar cycle, that means that we would have a heightened amount of wars, a heightened amount of conflict, a heightened amount of human innovation, creativity, and inventions. And so the activity of the sun is directly connected to the activity of humanity overall. Next slide. And so what is happening right now is that we are starting the peak of this solar cycle. And I want to make something so clear to you is that we are way ahead of this awakening process. You don't need the masses to awaken. You need a few people, right? Just like we had the beautiful ascended masters, Yeshua, Buddha, Goddess Isis, Miriam, Kalima, all of these beautiful masters, they were able to shift the consciousness of the whole population because they were able to hold that light in their essence. And that's what you have to learn how to do. So let's take a moment to explore this chart real quick. So this is the solar cycle chart, okay? And if you look at 2012, in 2012, like we have already surpassed the solar activity of 2012. When the Mayans said that, that's when the awakening would happen. Many of us awakened during 2012. But guess what's going to happen now? More of society, more of the collective is going to start to awaken into their power, into their awareness, and into their consciousness. What is so fascinating about this chart, if you look at the gray bands, that's what scientists expected it to look like. Scientists, based on the previous data, they were like, hey, the sun is only going to be this level of is only going to have this level of activity. But guess what? Because you are so committed to doing your inner work, because you are committed to identifying the truth, expanding your consciousness, bringing more light into your awareness, guess what? The sun is waking up, because this is the universal law of correspondence. As within, so without. As I awaken, as you awaken, the sun awakens, because everything is connected. And so we have completely surpassed, like blown through the roof in terms of the solar activity that the scientists were predicting. And we are just at the start of the peak of this solar cycle. And the peak of this solar cycle, it lasts for 5 years. And so I'm going to show you something in a second of why you shouldn't be afraid of what's coming. So right now we're seeing so many different natural disasters. We're seeing so many global conflicts. We're seeing so many secrets, so much corruption. And this is actually part of the healing process. If you and me, if we were to eat spoiled food, what would we have to do? Our bodies would have to get sick to get rid of that virus, to get rid of that bacteria in order for us to feel better. And that's what is happening with the earth. The earth is purging herself. The collective consciousness is purging itself of the distortions, of the illusions, of all of these things that have been keeping humanity in shackles for way too long. And so this is meant to not cause fear mongering, but actually meant to show you that it's normal that these things are, it's normal that we're having so many natural disasters. It's normal that we're having conflicts, because this is based on historical data of what happens when we're at the peak of a solar cycle. So what you have to do, go back to the last slide, please. What you have to do is you have to be the calm amongst the storm. So just like if you were to be in a hurricane or if you were to be in a tornado, everything around you would be swirling 100 miles per hour. But inside of the tornado, inside of the eye of the storm, that's where you would be at peace. That's where you would have clarity, and it would be complete stillness. And that is what you have to do as an alchemist. I truly believe that all of us, if we choose to, we have the power to become alchemists. What is an alchemist? An alchemist is someone who transmutes, transforms fear into empowerment, division into unity, pain into forgiveness. So alchemy is a term that just refers to the transformation of energy from one state into another. And that's what you're here to do, to be this pillar of peace, this pillar of clarity, this pillar of truth and empowerment, so that you can be that strength for your family, for those in your household, for your community, and for the collective at large. And that is why you are showed up today. It's no accident that you're watching this. You have to learn how to build this sense of self-mastery. A true alchemist masters their mind and masters their emotions. And this is what's going to help you to navigate through these next 5 years. And I don't want to sugarcoat anything for you. Yes, we're going through this huge awakening. We're going through this huge period of human evolution where we are going to have more freedom, more awareness, more equality in the long term. But now we have to purge that out. So the next 5 years are going to be challenging, but it doesn't mean that you have to get sucked into the chaos. Remember, transmute the chaos into clarity, into alignment, into centeredness. Next slide. So I'm going to move quickly through this. But this is actually part of a bigger cycle. Like I said, I usually do an alchemy workshop that's 2.5 hours. So I'm cramming all of this into this short time that I have. But right now we are also entering a new cosmic cycle. So our solar system is moving through the photon belt right now. The photon belt is a cosmic area in our skies that has a heightened amount of photons. So our solar system moves in and out of this band of photons about every 11,000 to 13,000 years. And so the last time that our solar system moved through this band was in Atlantis and during the destruction of Atlantis. And so again, this is why we're choosing to reincarnate right now, so we can choose a new path forward for humanity, so we can individually be freed from the karmic cycles that we were involved in Atlantis, and we can choose something new for ourselves and for the collective. And so an easy way to understand this is think about the summer, the fall, the spring, and the winter. So we have seasons on Earth. It's normal for us to not see the sun a lot when it's winter. And then it's normal for us to have really long days in summer. So right now we are moving out of the dark ages into the golden ages, because we're moving through this heightened amount of photons. Oh, photon is just light. And what is light? Light is information. And right now, our bodies, our consciousness are learning to anchor more information. Next slide. Thank you. So this is a science that explains this, because yes, I agree with Vivienne that it's very important that we take our spirituality and honor it and not try to bring the ego mind into it. I am also and have a big Arcturian piece to me, and all of the galactic beings, even the people of Kemet of ancient Egypt, they would never see spirituality and science as separate. They actually saw them working together in harmony. And I think it's also helpful for us to sort of have these foundational sort of like blueprints that we can hold to understand everything we're moving through. Because a 12,000-year-old cycle, That's a lot of years, but this is actually part of a 26,000-year-old cycle, which I don't have the time to explain today. But these years, they're kind of like vague and they don't mean anything to us, because guess what? Me and you, we only live about like 85 years, right? Like that's the average human lifespan. And so it doesn't really mean anything to us. And that's why sometimes it is important to sort of have these scientific concepts so that we can grasp a better understanding and apply these concepts into our daily life. And so this is this is a neutron monitor, and right now it was at its space age maximum in 2010. So that's when the amount of neutrons peaked. And so scientists, they use neutrons as proxies for photons and for cosmic energy, and it's peaking again now. And this, again, is no accident. This is the science that proves all of what our ancient indigenous elders were telling us. Next slide. And that is what it's ultimately signifying. We are entering a new cycle, and we are entering the next golden age. So moving out of a dark age into a golden age. And again, this always happens. This happens about every 12,000 years. And now we are getting ready to birth the next golden age. Next slide. So that is why you chose to reincarnate right now at this specific time in human history, because you knew all of these changes were going to happen, and you wanted to awaken not just yourself, awaken more of your power, but also awaken humanity and support them on this journey to create a new way of being. I'm going to take a moment right now to explain this new way of being, because actually even our spirit guides are changing right now. Maybe you've noticed that. Let me know in the comments. Have you noticed that your spirit guides have been shape-shifting or maybe changing their personality or the different gifts that they have? I know your gifts have been definitely changing, but this is happening across the levels. Because think about evolution for a second. Let's say that your kidney is not working really well. Well, guess what? Over time, that's going to start to affect your heart. It's going to start to affect your blood. It's going to start to affect your stomach in different areas of your body. Your kidney is one organ, but this one organ is part of this giant organism, which is you, which is your body. And guess what? Mother Earth is one organ, one organism, a part of this huge universe, which is made up of different organisms, which are all of the different star nations, all of the different civilizations. And so as Mother Earth awakens, because again, everything is connected, as Mother Earth awakens, because we are learning to take better care of her, we're learning to honor her better, but she is also receiving neutrinos. She's also receiving all of this cosmic energy, because now it is time. We've been abusing the earth for way too long. We've been having way too many imbalances with our relationship to the earth, to the animals, to the plants, et cetera, to all life on earth. And now we have to choose a new path forward. And that's why we're getting pushed to change. And you knew that this was going to happen. And what's happening now is that as Mother Earth is evolving, the other galactic civilizations are also evolving, because their fate is directly intertwined with our fate. And so it's like this one giant alien family, if you want to look at it that way, right? Like we're one giant cosmic family. And what is the beautiful thing about this right now is that we're not just entering a new earth, the next golden age, the era of Aquarius, but right now, God, source, spirit, creation, the universe is offering us the chance to evolve beyond duality. Now, many of us, we entered our spiritual awakening journey because it was through pain or something, really traumatic happens to us. But now, instead of you and me evolving as souls on earth just through duality, pain and pleasure, good and bad, light and dark, instead of having this binary system, now we can choose to evolve beyond duality through expansion. Can you choose now to evolve as a soul through joy, through grace? That is my invitation to you. And that is what this true evolution of consciousness is about. It's creating a whole new path for humanity, a new way of being, a new way of existing overall. Next slide. And again, we all knew that all of these things were going to happen. We all knew the pandemic was going to happen. We all knew all of these conflicts would break out. And guess what? You were so courageous, and you raised your hand and you're like, I'm gonna go back to Earth. I do this too. I don't know if you do this, but I'm like, I'm kind of done with Earth. I'm done with humans. I'm done with all of this matrix and all these illusions and all this corruption. But guess what? We signed up for this. But we signed up for this so that we can change it. And this is a free will choice that we all have. We can choose to evolve with duality, pain and pleasure, light versus dark, good and evil, or we can choose to transcend that now. And so, next slide. And so that's what I invite you to do. I invite you to really embrace your role as an alchemist. That's what you were born here to do. You were born here to transform the unconsciousness into awareness, the fear into empowerment. All of these things that we're seeing, the division, we're being manufactured to doubt ourselves. We're being manufactured to doubt each other. All of these are just distraction tactics that keep us away from our power. And next slide. And what is alchemy? So alchemy at the basic level, it's all about transforming energy from one state to another. When we think about alchemy, most people think about how the ancient Egyptians, the people of Kemet, would turn rocks into gold. But alchemy truly is about transforming anything, all of our blocks into spiritual gold. That's why if you look at Yeshua, if you look at Buddha, if you look at any of the ascended masters, any of the angels, you will see this golden aura around them, and you have the ability to turn your blocks into this golden aura as well. And this is a choice that we have to make individually. No one can make it for you, and that's why I'm so grateful that you chose this path of self-awareness. And the reason why I talk about alchemy so much is because alchemy is what helped me to transform my own blocks. You heard a little bit about my story. I started, going to therapy, traditional therapy. I started going to abuse drugs, abuse alcohol. Nothing was really getting to that root cause of my pain. And it wasn't until I discovered alchemy that I discovered the root cause of my pain. And for me, that was being sexually abused when I was a child. And so at the time, as an adult, I thought I was just dealing with anxiety and instability and all these things. But alchemy helped me to identify my root cause and help me to heal my timelines. And so the most important thing for us that we can do to truly empower ourselves, to truly empower the world, and to free ourselves and our families, our lineages from the karmic cycles that we've been stuck is getting to that root cause of what is keeping you away from accepting the love that you are, accepting the power that you truly have. And alchemy is so powerful. That's why the people of Kemet, of ancient Egypt, used it. But even the people of Mu, Lemuria, they also used it. Even the galactic beings, they used it. And the type of alchemy that I personally practice is working with the elements, working with fire, water, air, earth, and ether. Why? Because the elements were the first primordial consciousness that were first created in this universe. And so they are found in everything externally, but they're also found in every piece of your essence, right? Your bones, that's the earth. Your water, your body's at least 70% water. Your blood is water. Your spirit is ether. Your vitality, the inner fire belly in your solar plexus, that's fire. And every single breath that you take, that's air. And so we are the elements themselves. And when we learn to become one with the elements, then we learn to have no separation with anything externally. And that's what this whole human awakening process is about, is going beyond the limitations of separation. And this is why the ancient Egyptians, the Atlanteans, the people of Mu, Lemuria, the galactic beings used it, because the elements are found everywhere, not just on Earth, but they're found throughout the different 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th dimensions and beyond. Next slide. And so my last words for you are to truly master your energy in this time of transformation. Do that hard work right now to explore what is the root cause of the things that you're observing in your life, because once you can get to that root cause, then you'll truly be living in your power. You'll be living with peace. And that's what we're invited to do. It's no longer about us reincarnating on Earth to learn school lessons. Like, I'm sure you've heard that before. Have you heard that before? That life is a school? But can life on Earth actually be a playground as well? Can you learn your soul lessons through joy, through grace, through peace? That's what I've been doing for the last few years, and that's what I teach people to do inside of my Golden Age Alchemy Academy. And that's because now it's like the time for us to choose these new paths forward. And so honestly, like, the best thing that you can do is really learn to master your energy. If you want to embrace your role as an alchemist is not just someone who transforms energy from one state into another. An alchemist is someone who exalts energy. This is something that my guides shared with me. And I had to go look up what exalt means on dictionary.com. And exalt actually means to transform something into its most optimal state. And so you have to transform your blocks into its most optimal state, right? That spiritual gold that you see, all of the ascended masters have that halo around themselves. And we are all ascended masters in training, right? Like, we're just going through this journey once again. And so that we don't have to reincarnate 100, 1,000 more times, going through this reincarnation process, get to the root cause and really do this inner work. Because once you start to call back your power and become the center of peace for yourself, you're also going to create that peace for those around you. And your family is going to need you, especially in these last 3 months of 2024. Timelines are splitting, timelines are accelerating, and your family is going to need you to show up for you. Your loved ones are going to need you to show up for you, and it's now time for you to call back your power. And if you hear the call, it's time for you to embrace your inner alchemist. Next slide. Thank you for choosing this path of awareness. Thank you for choosing to transform division into unity, fear into empowerment, and most importantly, thank you for choosing to reincarnate right now at this specific time in human history. I know it's very challenging to witness the suffering, the chaos, the distortions, but thanks to you, we can start to transmute this and avoid the different timelines, and hopefully avoid the timeline that Atlantis took, and instead we can create a new Earth together. So if you'd like to stay in touch, this is my Instagram at I am Soltara. This is also my YouTube channel. I do have, like, some people make fake accounts for me, so I wanted to show you the real account. This is the real account. I will never DM you for a reading. I actually don't do one-on-one readings anymore. So just know that that won't be me. This is the real page. And I'd love to stay connected with you. I actually share the solar updates and different cosmic updates here on my Instagram on a weekly basis, if that resonates with you. And thank you so much. I'm curious to hear if you want to drop any questions in the chat. I'm curious to hear if you have any.
So that was amazing.
Wow. I was
I actually took notes, because so much what you say I present on different parts of that, and you've connected so many dots for me. And I got to say thank you for sharing that with us, and it's just seeing your journey of all the information that you collected and the awareness, and how you coupled it with your own experiences, right? And I really do appreciate the science, because it's pretty much, to me, it's inevitable. The stars show it, the position of our solar system shows it, what's happened, the galactic climate shows it, that there are shifts going on the planet, and you so beautifully explained how that's happening. So amazing job.
I agree 1,000%. I was taking notes too. I had my paper were taking notes, and I'm glad you brought us back to the slide that says master your energy during this time of transformation. And that when you talked about Earth purging itself of the distortions, you know, you kept coming back to the impeccable timing of today and what Pluto has to do with that. And, you know, you made so much make sense just for me personally in my chart with my Aquarius at 0 degrees in my rising sign. And I don't know that much about astrology, and I'm glad Matthew Thomas this morning did us on a deep dive of that as well. And what I felt really strongly in my own personal heart, my personal journey, I agree with you, you know, that we can transmute our fear into empowerment, division into unity. And I too was sexually abused as a child and learned that we can use alchemy to transmute that. We don't have to stay in any victim status. It really gives us the impetus to want to grow and to empower ourselves, and that helps empower others. And Neil, dang, you are just bringing the A team, you know, Soul, your energy was...
I knew you were going to love Soul.
Yeah, I know. And like I said at the beginning, Neil, you always seem to put me, I just trust you. I surrender and trust. I know sometimes
I just felt the heart coherence, you know?
Yeah.
And I just also want to share, Soul, like what you said about what's keeping you from understanding the love that you really are and loving yourself, something along those lines. And you know, these traumas, they pretty much are the ones like that really keep us from understanding our own worth and utilizing alchemy. I've never even heard it in that way before, or the elements. So I'm really curious to talk to you more sometime about what that is, you know, because you know, same as Michelle, I experienced sexual molestation as a child as well. And it's been an ongoing process, you know, and it still comes up. Really does inhibit me, and it stumps me from being my full potential at times. And then after that trauma, so many different things happen afterwards that perpetuate that original wound, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's like, and then you're so far gone from the original trauma, you're just like, now it's almost like you can be lost in the process, right? So what you do with alchemy and the elements, I would love for us to maybe have a conversation another time and go deeper into that.
Yeah, I'd love to. And unfortunately, this is a common theme I heard from the many intuitives that I speak with. So, you know, I think it's part that some of us, we choose certain things in our soul contracts. And I think also it's part that we're stuck within these karmic dynamics, that there's unfortunately other agendas out there that understand how karma works, and they kind of create these things because you have to think about your sacral, right? Like your sacral is your power center. If you can be disempowered for like lifetimes, right? And for a lot of us, we've experienced sexual abuse across lifetimes. Why? It's because it's one of the deepest ways to take someone's power away. And so unfortunately, this is a common theme I hear among intuitives, like experience sexual abuse in one form or another. And what we have to do is we have to, like Michelle said, right, transmute that victimhood, have compassion, right? Like, because that shit hurts. Like it's really hard to get rid of that because it's not just within your energy field, it's also within your physical body that it's stuck there, right? So that's why it requires a lot of like digging through the layers to get rid of that. But this is exactly why I'm so passionate about this, because I'm sick and tired of like intuitives and people who are so heart-centered and so compassionate having to deal with karmic cycles of like sexual abuse or like, you know, just being persecuted or murdered. Like all of the ascended masters happen on this planet. All of the people spreading truth happen on this planet. It's like, can we choose to evolve as souls? Because after all, I can't speak for all of you, but I can speak for myself that if it wasn't for this sexual abuse, that I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have the level of compassion, understanding, because I had like, I didn't share too much about my story, but for the last 13 years, I've been traveling around the world trying to learn how to heal myself, right? Because therapy wasn't doing it, drugs weren't doing it. And so if it wasn't for this like pain, I wouldn't have these tools and I wouldn't be able to share it with people. But now it's like, okay, can we actually do we even need that? Can we actually evolve and expand without the need for sexual abuse, for persecution, for all these things? And I mean, this is a big vision, for future generations. But it's like we have to plant the seeds now, and it's based on what we choose.
It's so beautifully said. You know, I actually, Portal to Ascension, I started that looking to heal from sexual abuse. And I didn't realize it for 8 years. I was doing Portal to Ascension 2008 to 2016. And then I was in a plant medicine ceremony in Peru. And after a few ceremonies, I saw 7 generations of sexual molestation in the male lineage of my family. And I got a download that I subconsciously created Portal to Ascension to look for modality to heal from it. So I spent around 12 to 14 something years traveling the world looking for ways to heal. And ultimately, the solution was, let's do all types of events on every single topic to figure out how to get to that, And so I understand. And for a while, though, it was hard for me to have anger to what happened to me because I saw the benefit of what happened. You know what I mean? I realized, oh, I created this. I'm independent. I can travel. And I realized it was because of that wound. So I couldn't have the anger that I almost felt I actually do feel I needed in order to be like, that happened to me. I was a kid. That shouldn't have happened. That was wrong. Instead, I kind of spiritually bypassed it, so
yeah,
a lot of synergy.
there's definitely a lot of layers to it. It's very complicated, and I think it's hard for traditional therapy to explore this because 7 generations, there's a karma behind it, and for some of us it even happened in past lives, right? Like if we think about the Salem witch hunts, right? Like the torturous things that they did to those people. And so it's something we definitely need to have more conversations around, for sure.
I'm really appreciating that you're opening up the dialogue here with all of us here, and that anybody who's watching these replays or anybody who's coming into this conversation realizes that it's these conversations that do help us heal and transmute and find the reason and the impetus to do that. That's why I always put forgiveness in everything that we talk about and we do, because I think it is so important to forgive ourselves and forgive our perpetrators, and not get stuck on that drama triangle, whether you're the victim, the perpetrator, or the rescuer. Because a lot of times people want to rescue and fix you, like even in these circles, let's fix you, but it is a process. And I so appreciate that we are all together in that, knowing that this is helping to heal ourselves, and in return, it's helping to heal the world and the consciousness that we're in and evolving through. Thank you for bringing us back to that knowing. It was just, I love the way that you articulated that, Neil. I just keep thanking you over and over again. So
thank you so much. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say thank you as well for being so open to speaking about this, because our society has kind of made this like a taboo subject, right? Especially within culture, especially when it happens within families as well. And so thank you both for being so transparent. And for anyone who's watching this, one of the things, even if you weren't sexually abused, right? Maybe it was physically abused, emotionally abused, and just know that you are enough. Just because you experience those things, it doesn't necessarily have to do anything with your value. And that's what you have to peel away the illusion. You are love, and you come from love, and all of the different ego stories and all of that stuff, that's just distraction. And so that's why get to that root cause.
So thank you so much. You are incredible. I really appreciate you coming on and just expressing yourself. I'm so glad I got to experience you besides just watching your Instagram reels. So
I follow you on Instagram now, because like I said, I hadn't heard of you before. So
I can't wait to have you back on. So let's do some more together.
Yeah, I'd love to. And happy Friday, everyone. And thank you for hosting this.
Thank you, Sol. Take care.
Sol.